state of Georgia and Brian Kemp turned around and signed into law some significant restrictions and rollbacks that will make poor Georgians, make it a lot harder for poor Georgians to actually vote. Why did he do this, despite the fact that he kept saying, oh, the elections were not rigged in Georgia? Who knows? Well, I know. I've literally told you this before. These are demons, okay? They literally do not care. All the regular Republicans do the exact same that Donald Trump did. It's just that Donald Trump at least had the courage, or at least the idiocy, to straight up say it like it is, which was, I don't want people voting, because if people vote, we lose, okay? That's the main difference between Donald Trump and the rest of the Republican Party. And I kept telling you guys this, and the media would make it seem as though there is like this honest Republican out there, this honest Republican narrative, as though there is this Republican Party that is so different than Donald Trump. It's so different, so strange that like he has 90% approval rating in the Republican Party, but the real Republicans are so different than Donald Trump, whatever. So they're not. And this is a perfect example of this. When like the backbone of the Republican Party has historically, or the backbone of the conservative movement in this country has historically revolved around stopping people from voting. It's kind of a big deal. Conservatives in the past advocated that only white landowning males could vote. Then they made sure that women could not vote, but then they failed. Then they tried to stop black people from voting, and then they failed. So now they still try to stop black and brown people from voting, or specifically poor people from voting, as best as they can. It's literally built into their success strategy. It is about making this democratic process as undemocratic as possible. And that's precisely why turn around and be like, any sort of expansion on voter rights is basically a bill that you're writing to make sure Democrats win all the time. That's it. That's the truth. Maybe you should change your policies then. Instead of trying to stop people from voting, have you thought about actually advocating for policies that are popular? I mean, Democrats do this too. Democrats certainly advocate for that's like, you know, for hyper specific groups, or will flub the selling point on like an actual popular policy, or will refuse to go the distance on actual popular legislation like $15 minimum wage because they're cowards, or rather they operate as a bottleneck for any sort of progressive momentum in this country. They're literally a stopgap measure for progressive momentum in this country. But having said that, the Republican political game literally revolves around stopping as many people from voting as possible.
All out over Major League Baseball's decision to pull the All-Star game and the draft out of Georgia after that state's approval of a new voting law. The state's governor blasting baseball's decision and vowing not to back down. Steve HasanAbi has the latest.
Major League Baseball is not alone. This morning,
so I don't like baseball, as you guys know. I just don't like sports in general. I don't like watching organized sports. Not for me, but I do understand other people like it, enjoy it. Okay. Cool. What's happening now is, I mean, I guess they'll describe it here, but the fallout is happening because the Georgia governor signed into law some voting restrictions, right? Restrictions on voting to unroll or to roll back all of these new expansion on voter laws. Or make it easier for people to vote, right? Now, MLB, including 170 plus companies that all operate within Georgia, including Coca-Cola and all these other companies, like big companies, are criticizing the state of Georgia for making this decision. And specifically, MLB literally pulled out their playoffs and their draft, I think that was going to happen in Atlanta.
Executives from Dow, PayPal, Uber, Lyft, Estee Lauder, Under Armour, and more are all sending a message to Republicans in state houses across the country. They've all signed on to a statement calling on lawmakers to make it easy for Americans to vote, writing, "Our elections are not improved when lawmakers impose barriers that result in longer lines at the polls or that reduce access to secure ballot drop boxes. There are hundreds of bills threatening to make voting more difficult in dozens of states nationwide."
We thought of an executive's job as simply running a company have long passed, and we're looking for executives to step into a leadership role.
It's gotten to a actual fucking point where human beings don't matter, and our point of view literally does not matter. Like, our democratic opinion, our collective action is so insignificant because of how little power we have, and because of the fact that all of the mechanisms in which you could utilize collective bargaining, unions, all matter of like a grassroots mobilization, has been eradicated in this country. So we have to fucking go to corporations and be like, I'm not buying your product. Go yell at the governor. Those very same corporations who literally line up the pockets of said governors so that they can get like tax breaks and subsidies and operate without additional regulation or scrutiny in that fucking state or in that region, will then turn around and be like, you need to stop. You need to let people be able to vote. It's still bullshit, but it is ridiculous that like this is where we're at in America, where your opinion does not fucking matter. The opinion of the Coca-Cola executive is way more significant than your personal opinion, no matter how many people you can mobilize and get together. This is feudalism, okay? We are straight up in neo-feudal lordships that are operating on the American soil, and they're getting the monarch, or I guess like some kind of government, to do whatever the fuck they want.
The new law, for example, prevents anyone but a poll worker from handing out water or food to voters waiting in those notoriously long lines that are much more common in counties with larger black and brown populations. It also moves those popular ballot drop boxes from outside to inside early voting locations. They're no longer available 24/7. Georgia's governor accuses baseball of caving to fear.
It means cancel culture and partisan activists are coming for your business.
Yeah, it's literally fucking cancel culture now. God damn it, dude. You are the governor of the state of Georgia, bro. What the fuck are you talking about? Cancel culture, motherfucker. Any sort of political mobilization is cancel culture. Immediately. You fucking slap it on anything, it's gluten, okay? Cancel culture is gluten, boys. It's everything and anything, all right? Like, there was a point in time when everyone was like, oh, I'm gluten-free, I'm gluten-free, I'm gluten-free, I'm gluten-free. Does this have gluten? Does this have gluten? Like, it was just every fucking place you went to, everyone was talking about gluten. Now that's cancel culture. It's just apply it to everything, okay? Shouts out to the people with celiac disease. Sorry, you know what I'm talking about, though. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene, when she on that video where she talks to Boo Boo Bennett, when she literally, instead of using the word murder, used cancel culture to describe abortions, I was like, that's it. It's gotten to a point where motherfuckers literally think cancel culture is a better, more polarizing way to talk about abortion than just saying it's baby murder. It's worse than murder, dude.
The governor of Georgia also points out that this law actually expands early voting. For example, there are now more days of early voting in this state than in the state of New York.
Steve Olsen-Sami for
They leave out that the early voting days are all weekdays that end at 5 p.m. Got to make sure the rich white folk can go and no one else ASAP. So, like, there's no reason for why you wouldn't have that. Like, there's literally no other reason why you would change or restrict early voting days to a time frame that is unmanageable, okay? It's ridiculous. There's no way to defend the position of Georgian Republicans outside of saying, no, it's good when less people vote. That's it. And I've talked about this a million fucking times over, and I have to repeat myself, but, like, this is how the Republican Party has always operated. It is straight up voter suppression. This is how it works. They do not want motherfuckers to go out and vote, because if more motherfuckers vote, they fear that they are going to lose. Specifically, black, brown, or just poor people voting. That is the biggest fear for Republicans.
For sending absentee ballots, severely limits the number of ballot drop boxes, and gives more control of local elections to state lawmakers who are majority Republican. It also makes it a crime to give water or food to people waiting in line to vote. There are also less controversial elements, like expanding early voting so that there are at least 17 days to cast a vote, and it can go up to 19 days if counties choose to offer 2 Sundays of voting. The bill also requires that when lines are longer than 1 hour, counties must send more staff and machines out.
It's like, none of this makes sense from any POV whatsoever, okay? It does not make sense. Like, what is the argument that, like, you know, we're preventing illegal immigrants from voting by doing this? No. What's stopping a criminal from wanting to vote? Which, by the way, statistically, not a real thing, okay? There is no empirical evidence to show that voter fraud is happening at a level that literally sways the outcome of elections. None whatsoever. Over the course of decades, there have been studies conducted by Republicans, conservatives, liberals, leftists, bipartisan studies conducted by Donald Trump's administration's very own election integrity committee that quietly disbanded when they found no evidence. Voter suppression is the real problem. Election tampering is the real problem. Voter fraud is not. It has never occurred. It will never fucking happen. It is ridiculous, but Republicans will just keep fucking lying. It will keep lying over and over again as though it's happening all the goddamn time. That like undocumented immigrants are coming into the country in waves and you know, they're doing like a, you know, Naruto run over the border so they can go fucking vote. So they can go vote and vote illegally and vote twice for the Democratic Party. And that's the only reason why Democrats win. Like, this is a complete fabrication by conservatives. It happens to be the only way to justify the voter suppression measures that they implement. 200 companies came out, or 193 companies came out, but it doesn't mean anything. Like, it doesn't mean anything. This is like the CEO letter about how we're going to do shareholder or stakeholder capitalism, not shareholder capitalism. These motherfuckers just put this shit out there specifically so they can win brownie points, okay? If they really, really, really wanted to put a dent in American democracy, they would allow their workplaces to unionize. They would allow for higher corporate tax rates so that there are better social safety nets for Americans, so that they can then turn around and have more power to advocate for their best interests. They would literally stop fucking funding the Republican Party. They're just never going to do that. They're never going to do that. So they do this like symbolic, like, we are so mad at you, Georgia. Why would you do this? And then they still funnel gazillions of dollars to super PACs that directly fund these demons, okay? You know, you could throw up the fucking black fist as Walmart and say Black Lives Matter, and then keep buying fucking cruisers for the police department or whatever fucking APC that the police department wanted to purchase so that they can run over 14-year-old black kids skating in the suburbs of fucking Ann Arbor. That's literally how this works. They fucking do this symbolically so they can make you feel like the brand cares about you and your well-being. It's never been a real thing.
A number of big businesses in Georgia, though, including Delta and Coca-Cola, have criticized the law, leading Republicans to threaten retaliation. For more on all of this, we are joined now by Atlanta Mayor.
What are they going to do, bro? Stop fucking drinking Coca-Cola? Is that what they're going to do? Good luck, Republicans. At least I'm honest. I'm not stopping my motherfucking Diet Coke consumption. Let's be real. Anyway, a bunch of people talked about it, but McConnell took aim at corporate U.S. Parts of the private sector keep dabbling behavior like a woke parallel government. Corporations will invite serious consequences if they become a vehicle for far-left mobs to hijack our country from outside the constitutional order. And now you have Rubio asking the MLB commission to drop his membership at Augusta. To do so would require personal sacrifice as opposed to the woke corporate virtue signaling of moving the All-Star game from Atlanta. So we are going to move on with this story. I want to show you what like some Republicans have said, including Greg Abbott and all these other Republicans who are fucking losing their minds over this. Corporate influence has always been first and foremost the most important thing. It's just that like Republicans are upset because they need to keep winning elections so they can demonstrate corporate power on the political scale against the interests of many, against the best interests of the American population, the broader American population. And if you are eliminating a way for Republicans to win elections by literally gaming the system, they're going to start getting mad and say, oh my God, I'm so mad at corporations. It's like, dude, you're a fucking slave to the corporations, okay? You need to know your fucking place. And when corporations speak out like this, they try to make it seem like, oh, you going to make me act up. I'm Mitch McConnell, and you gonna make me fucking act up. I will turn around and actually allow motherfuckers to unionize in Kentucky. It's just bullshit. You're not gonna do that. And you're also giving the game away. I've said this before, America is not a fucking real country. It is just a consortium of massive multinational corporation hubs that revolve around like built identities that completely center around their consumption, their personal consumption. We are not like a real fucking country. There is no cohesion in that respect. It's just like, you know, I am the Coca-Cola Applebee's man, and you know, Mitch McConnell has got like a bunch of other fucking corporate donors. It's fucking bullshit. GOP's looking at MLB like hogs looked at the cops who dared to defend Capitol on January 6th. Yeah, so it's just like very interesting that they're so butthurt about what MLB's doing. Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, a fucking demon in his own way, he sent this letter out. He said, "Dear Mr. Liebman, thank you for the invitation throughout the first pitch of the Texas Rangers home opening game. I was looking forward to it until Major League Baseball adopted what has turned out to be a false narrative about the election law reforms in Georgia, and based on the false narrative, moved the MLB All-Star game from Atlanta. It is shameful that America's pastime is not only being influenced by partisan political politics, but also perpetuating false political narratives." Motherfucker, I'm sorry. It is not a false political narrative to say we should make it easier for people to vote, okay? Trust me, they're still going to, obviously corporations are aware that when people are allowed to vote, they're still going to what? Vote for the Democratic Party or Republican Party, both of which are still going to protect the corporate interest. So this is so ironic that like corporations themselves do not have a problem with the restriction of voter access because they know that both parties are going to represent their best interests over the interests of the American population. And yet Republicans are like, oh, well, there's no other way that we can fucking win elections. So anytime someone tries to make it easier for people to vote, we're going to lose elections. So fuck that. So they're like upset that MLB is taking this decision. Why are they taking this decision? It's inconsequential. Don't talk about that. Don't get into that. Don't get involved in that. Just fucking say that it's bad, okay? It's bad that corporations are doing woke politics. Well, why are they doing woke politics? It's literally to force the Republican Party's hand to not limit people's opportunities to vote. That's it. You have to remember that. You have to recognize that. This conversation should not be exclusively revolving around like, oh, it's cancel culture. And the people that are trying to turn this into cancel culture are probably going to do it very successfully because corporations are not very popular, oftentimes. And that's it. Based alert. Oh, the Arkansas governor, Hutchinson, announced he's vetoed the anti-trans bill, HB 1570. Holy shit. Hutchinson says the bill was overboard, restricted people's decisions, and sent a message about Arkansas that he did not want to send. At the same time, he notes that the legislature can still make an override vote by a simple majority.